Well, wake up. It's a beautiful morning. It's Friday morning, my friends. The Premier League starts tonight, Liverpool versus Bournemouth. And then it kicks off properly tomorrow, and West Ham take on Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. We've got Jacob from Sunderland Fan TV on the channel doing a preview. That'll be lunchtime. We'll have that on lunchtime, talking about the game, talking about some of the players, including the return of the King 𝗠𝗢𝗥𝗡𝗚 𝗛𝗡𝗥. And we'll talk about him and all the other signings. They've got a lot of signings. They've bought a lot of players, and we talk about that. But, and I like big buts and I cannot lie, lots to talk about in terms of West Ham. Lots of transfer gossip and rumours. And we're going to go through quite a bit today. And then we'll have, obviously, Jacob at lunchtime. And then we'll have the Hammers headlines. And then, obviously, on Saturday, we'll have match day morning, including the stat attack, and then we'll have the starting 11 show, and then we'll have the watch along as well with myself in association with Match Bingo. So let's talk West Ham. That's a good idea. Now, a slightly strange story broke yesterday, sort of late afternoon, about West Ham, and they appear to have embarked on another spree of credit. And they've secured a second lending facility, they call it, just weeks after arranging one up to £145 million from Barclays. Now, this move has been described as mysterious by financial football expert Kieran Maguire. The Hammers seem to be borrowing heavily against the land and buildings owned by the club. We don't own a lot, but the new spell of borrowing has been registered a charge to borrow money secured against Chadwell Heath, Rush Green, Little Heath, and the Beckton Clubhouse. The funds are coming from a company, Rights and Media Fund Limited, and represent a multi-million-pound credit facility, which is a similar arrangement to the one we have at Barclays Bank, which that was secured against borrowings on our basic awards in the Premier League, in so much how much money we will get regardless of where we are in the league position, and also potential parachute payments if we were to be relegated as well. Now, the amount of the new borrowing hasn't been disclosed, but Kieran suggested the deal raises eyebrows, saying that West Ham borrow from Rights and Funding Media Limited, a company with no employees, hardly any assets apart from loans to companies, and which owes about £290 million itself to creditors. Doesn't look good from a West Ham perspective, especially when you've got a board of directors, including 3 billionaires. The first facility of the 145, why do we need more money? Why are we doing this? Why are we getting more credit? We're not spending it on the club, or are we? But I don't think we are. We haven't got a ground to improve. It baffles me a little bit while we're doing this, putting more pressure on maintaining Premier League status. Because if I'm right, these guys, they were behind a bit of why Everton went up the Swanee a little bit and they got the points deduction, if I remember. Not as a result, but the money they lent them, that put them over the edge, and the PSR stuff, and they got points deduction and that type of thing. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good when it comes to West Ham. And I wonder why we're doing this. I mean, it's not like we're going out and buying Mbappe. So, we're looking at players who are from the Pro League and, lower in the Championship and stuff like that. It's not like we all this money is going to go on players. It's all a bit strange, but as it's been filed in Company's House, so it's there in black and white. So we'll keep an eye on that, and any developments on that. Probably, to be honest, something like that, when it comes to the finance stuff, you keep an eye on Kieran Maguire or Sean Wheatston, because he must have sort of alerts on his when West Ham files something at Company's House, because he's always first with that information. Now, that's the sort of the behind the scenes stuff. In terms of on the pitch, obviously we've signed Mads Hermansen, who Graham Potter spoke very glowingly when his press conference, which we did a synopsis about yesterday, talking about how he settled in. Obviously, there was half a dozen goalkeepers we were being linked to at the same time, including obviously Victor and stuff. And because of that, there was an assumption that maybe we were looking for two goalkeepers. Now, from the information we got, that wasn't the case. We always wanted to get one, and we always wanted to get Mads, and that was why all this tomfoolery around the peripherals happened. However, according to reports, there is a suggestion that potentially Areola could be moved on before the end of the transfer window. Now, this was sort of dismissed about a week or so ago in terms of links to Galatasaray and that type of thing, but Paris FC have put together. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Sorry. There we go. Paris FC have it's been suggested are looking at the opportunity of bringing Areola home. Obviously, he was at PSG. The 32-year-old goalkeeper is pretty much guaranteed to lose his starting spot at West Ham, if not immediately for the Sunderland game, definitely at some stage in the near future. West Ham having put at least £50 million down to start off with on Mads. He's not there to warm the bench up. Now, we bought him from PSG back in 2021 for £8 million. That ain't a bad deal. It weren't a bad deal at the time. Obviously, we had him on a season on loan beforehand. Now, there is, as I said, Paris FC have apparently offered him the opportunity or are offering him the opportunity to come back home. Paris FC have just been promoted to Ligue 1. That was the side which Mr. Mamadou Kanté, we bought him from Paris FC and then loaned him back. So there is an open line of communication there between the two clubs. The report suggests they'll be looking for around £5 million for the transfer. It seems a bit cheap for me, but there's also a belief that a loan deal with an obligation to buy could be on the cards, with West Ham subsidising Areola's wages in being maybe a more practical way of looking at it. What's interesting, obviously, it's a World Cup year as well. And by playing in League R, maybe he has the best opportunity of getting into the French side, maybe. I don't know. It's clear that his days as number one are numbered. And, you know, it might give him the opportunity to go to a newly promoted side and perform to the best he can do. Even if it's a loan deal, we'll have to wait and see. But whether it's as a consequence of that or a coincidence, there was a report from the Telegraph today from Mike McGraw, who sounds like he should be a country singer. He reports that the Hammers have reignited their interest in the Sheffield Wednesday goalkeeper. Now, Charles is a really interesting player. He's very young, Northern Ireland international. He's been the setup from Northern Ireland side. Not sure if I don't think he's a full international just yet. Now, he's a guy we've been looking at. Apparently, West Ham have been tracking him for some time, and it's believed an offer of £1 million plus cash offer has been made to Sheffield Wednesday for Charles. Now, what we're led to believe is most of the fee will be paid up in advance. However, it's believed the deal is currently off as neither club as they haven't responded to our deal. Apparently, Rangers also interested in him, but neither have had a response from Sheffield Wednesday. Doesn't surprise me. They're up to at the moment in terms of Sheffield Wednesday. They haven't been able to pay their players for several weeks, and Charles is a very young goalkeeper and one who apparently is renowned for being very good with the ball at his feet. So it could be that it was that, you know, maybe this was always the case eventually that Areola would be shipped out with a younger number two coming in. Now, we do have Christian Heggie, we do have Finn Herrick, but I would suggest maybe, I mean, Charles is already playing championship football as well. So, you know, and Pierce is I think he's going to be a very, very good goalkeeper. So he's a player we can get now. He'd be homegrown as well. So he could play, we can get in now. And what is he, like 20? I think he's like 20, something 19, 20. So, you know, he's got, you know, best years ahead of him and can develop. And even if you bought him for £1 million now, you'd be able to sell him for 10, 15 million quid in 10 years' time, or 8 years' time, or 5 years' time, whatever. So I don't think it's a bad deal. And if it means we can get some of the wages of Areola off he's obviously he must be the highest earner now. He probably is the highest earner now because it was him, Zuma with the top two. So he's on excess of, I think it's about 120 grand a week. I think Areola is. Get those wages out off the thing, even if you're paying part wages to Paris, it's still, even if it's 50%, that's 60 grand a week. I've done the maths. I don't see that as a bad thing. I think we're developing a younger squad. Again, another 30. Areola's another 30-year-old. We've got rid of a lot of 30-year-olds already. There's still some in the club, and some will remain in the club. But where we can bring in younger models, so to speak, Mads being a younger model to Areola, and Piers could be a younger number two than Areola would be. And I don't think Areola would really want to be a number two, particularly in the World Cup year. So it's good. It could work well for all parties. Now, how can we might be able to pay for it thanks to a former West Ham player and currently at the moment a Sunderland player, 𝗠𝗢𝗥𝗡𝗚 𝗛𝗘𝗦. He's a guy we bought from, was it Chelsea? Never really made the grade at West Ham, played a lot of 21 football. He moved to Sunderland 2 seasons ago and spent most of last season on loan to Saint-Etienne. And I think they went down because Lucas Stassin, he was playing for Saint-Etienne and they went down. So, but regardless of that, they want to buy him. And a sale fee of around £6 million apparently is on offer. And West Ham have a sell-on clause in the deal when we sold him to Sunderland. So with that, we'll probably get, I think maybe less than £1 million on that, but a lot of that could fund a Charles deal. Should Sheffield Wednesday respond to West Ham's offer at some point, which would be nice of them to do. So cost us even less. So we're coming out. We don't even need that money from the Rights and Media Limited, did it? Make it up on Pierre. And finally, another midfielder we've been linked with, another one to add to the list. I haven't added them up, but I've had to take the numbers off because we've got so many, so I'm going to have to recount. We're over 210 players we've been linked with. And the next one is it's gathering pace. We're chasing timber. I'm quite pleased with that one. According to XWHU employee, West Ham have definite interest in the final defensive midfielder, 𝗠𝗢𝗥𝗡𝗜𝗓, this summer. He is one of the options to bolster the engine room, according to the report at London Stadium. We desperately need midfield reinforcements, and we could turn to Timber. He did have an injury setback in February. But despite that, been in good form for Feyenoord, bagging 6 goals and creating 4 big chances in 18 Eredivisie appearances. He has been lauded. He was lauded by former Feyenoord and current Liverpool boss Arne Slot as a special player. He is apparently a terrific midfielder. 24, still has his prime years ahead of him. He, obviously you can't ignore his injury record, which is probably one of the reasons why he would be available, because he's a very good player. If he wasn't injured, he'd probably be going for a top side. Before the February layoff that kept him out for months, he'd already missed most of January, so he seems perfect for West Ham. So 2 significant spells on the sidelines in recent sort of quick succession, plus other setbacks. Does he have the kahunas in terms of durability for the Premier League, particularly in the role he does? We can't afford for this midfielder we bring in to struggle physically or struggle to stay fit across the entire campaign, or indeed struggle to stay on the pitch due to he's had a few suspensions as well. Alvarez, I love him, but I cannot not have him on the pitch for half a dozen games this season due to ill discipline. That's not what I want in my midfielder. I want to be combative, but the right side of the law, so to speak, so we're not losing so many games. Maybe a more reliable option might be on the cards from a physical perspective. I don't know. He's obviously the brother of what's his face from I was playing Timber. That's his name. Julian Timber from Arsenal. Yeah, I think it's another name to add to the list. But I think personally, we want someone who's maybe hasn't got such a bad injury record. Maybe beggars can't be choosers, I know, but That's just me. Anyway, if you like what we do, give it a like, give it a little love, give it a lovely emoji. Some people just come on and put an emoji. That's fine. That's fine. I like it. Means we get some channel engagement and people put it, far YouTube, YouTube, put it farther and wider for people to watch. Also, keep an eye on if you want to get involved in Finalysis as well, the new app, which has been launched, which I'm part of. We'll be using Finalysis data quite a lot for like the match reports and the sort of player ratings and stuff like that, because it's a curated list. It's not just me. It's a whole raft of actual West Ham fans, not people who are journalists or it's actual West Ham fans. So you get a true fan's perspective in terms of what they thought of Bowen's performances on Saturday, what they thought of Potter, how much they think Fernandez is worth, that type of thing. So check it out, finalysis.com. It's backed by Gary Neville and Michael McIntyre, the comedian, big Tottenham fan, lovely guy. I spoke to him yesterday. Really passionate Tottenham fan as well, but he's not like one of them Tottenham fans. He actually takes a piss out of himself. He was talking about Spursiness against PSG the other day and things like that. So it's all fun and games. Anyway, my friends, take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay humble. Keep the faith. I'll see you at lunchtime. Much love. Bye-bye.